I will tell you about an event that could move while being still, and that passed me by all the time. The event consisted a structure in movement, a transportation going forward, with 2 passengers and a driver. If a coincidence had not occurred in the past time, there would be only 1 passenger in this transportation. A coincidence made 2 separated events merge into one. Before the event took place, a woman walked along the roadside. She walked in a relaxed motion, with her arms hanging down her sides. She did not notice me or my forms. She saw as if her eyes were closed. The structure, which came from the same before, slowed down when it passed the walking woman. The structure stopped, and a man opened the door and said, "If you need a lift, you are welcome to enter." The woman entered and placed herself in the opposition to the past. Objectively, the structure defines this event, this moving event, and the 2 passengers defines this objective event by sharing the collective space and presence. Their opposite positions reinforces their unique minds, and he sees the future and she sees the past. In the same time, they are sharing the presence, facing each other, facing the past, facing the future. As they gazed out the window, you could think that they should see me, but they seemed to see more of their insides rather than their outsides. The event that follows is their conversations in the moving structure. I will tell you the sentences that were spoken and the thoughts that was seen. It seems like the woman is looking at me, but she finds herself not noticing the passing landscape. Then she said to the opposite traveler, "I've been looking out the window for a long time, though I have not seen anything. I do not remember the landscape that has passed. Now I see the sun and the horizon." The man looked out the window and responded, "How is it possible that you can look out the window and yet have not seen anything?" "Well," she said, "I was in my thoughts and did not register what my eyes saw. My eyes did not register the surroundings. Instead, I saw my thoughts. I saw what I was thinking. And what did you see when you were thinking? He said. I saw a dream that I had. And in the dream I realized something. As I was swung around the house like a lasso, I realized the most important thing is that I'm living a life and that everything else is straws and that time goes like circles around life. And as I looked out that window, I was thinking about those straws, that everything else is straws. I wonder what it can mean. She did not understand the dream, but she knew that it was of importance. And what the dream is saying is that the essential thing is that she's living a life, and the straws is the structure, the facade of time that goes like circles around this life. Therefore, life is the space inside the straw, inside time. But she doesn't need to understand this to benefit from the dream. After some reflection of what she had said, the man responded, I wonder how we can lose our sight while thinking. How we can look at something outside, but still we only register our imagination. For a moment, the woman was conscious about me, and the association linked to a memory appeared in her head. With this, she said to the opposite traveler, This landscape reminds me of a place where I once was. I was walking around in a park which was made out of sand. There were ruins and hills, and I saw familiar faces everywhere. Humans make associations all the time. This is a complex ability. They tend to see the world in connections and similarities, as if everything is blended together. In some way, this is true. For how long have you been traveling? The man asked. For some time, she said. And you? For how long have you been traveling? The man asked himself for how long he had been traveling. He found time somehow tangible and malleable. Well, I don't really know, he said. But to keep track of time, I count events, though I don't know what it will do for me. The time is so abstract, but time always contains events. There is no containless time. But in a world with no events, is there time? She imagined what he said and answered, I see a container with events inside, and next to it, another container but with no events inside. Both are empty. An event is not necessarily something that we can see. She noticed his confusion and said, "Okay, imagine a moving train. Either it has passengers or it has not. Either way, it will be in movement." The man looked out the window and saw a meadow. He often thought about this place. It was a beautiful dream, especially the last environment, so beautiful. He came down from a hill to a glade, big and formed as a half circle. A house with no windows looms behind, and with an astonishing gaze he sees a tree. It must be an aspen, because its green leaves is sparkling like glitter. The forest behind, who created the glade, stood tight and still. He often returned to this moment of beauty. Suddenly the woman saw me with clarity, and she said, "The shape of the mountains is like waves in the ocean, seeking its forms in others. Seeking its forms in others. My ends are another form's beginning. Nothing is really separated. Here is where associations is valuable." "Once my father gave me a boat, an old fishing boat," she said. "Then someone gave me a vision. Imagine open sea, night alone with the boat, stillness. You become one with the space. Everything becomes one. I saw dark blue water in front of me, and I felt calmness. And I was happy for the boat, though I did not know how to ride it." "I seek calm in bridges," he said. "They are like a pause in between things." They kept on traveling through my alleys and my mountains, open fields and forests. A rainbow appeared in the sky. Rainbows bows for their surroundings, and we shall too bow for our surroundings. And as I pointed my vision at the sky, my dear neighbor, I remember that I recently saw a star falling. It must have been in a dream. It is not anything particular that I dreamt about it. I'm looking for the starfalls in the waking life. The brightness of the sun hit the man's eyes, and he said, "Once I dreamt that I was touched by light. I felt a sensible warmness on my body. My separated thoughts melted down to one blobby unit on the floor. I looked at my thoughts, now that they had become one, and I felt relieved. My head was silent and muted. The distillation of thoughts, she said. As they passed my green fields, a fox balanced on the horizon line. The horizon is a concept that will never be reached. The fox is balancing on an unreachable concept. Do you feel like we're chasing the landscape? Or that the landscape is chasing us? The woman said. I feel like we're running through the landscape and it just stands still and watches us pass, he said. It is like thoughts. I stand still while they pass by like clouds. After a moment of reflection, he continued, like the life of the weather is the structure of my thinking, a hovering thought. Imagine hovering thoughts. Thoughts, imagination, is an immaterial presence, an all the time forever immaterial presence. Therefore, humans are both material and unmaterial. Once I was in a house with a hillside within, she said. The street was flat, but the house was on a hillside. The interior floor was leaning, and it had no stairs. And the house could play. I attached bells on it. Sometimes when I walk, I have the sensation that the floor is meeting me halfway, he said. Once I saw a film, she said, or a reality that was not the same as before. The scenes and the script had changed. I noticed it. It was more unpleasant now. I found myself in a landscape that I knew well. I had been there before. Now something was changed. The landscape was closed. It was closed, but at the same time gaping. The landscape was as in a vacuum. And the mountains were shaped like crossed arms, guarding itself. I was there, inside it, though at the same time it was closed and not reachable. Do you think the landscape notices us? She said. Yes, he said. They kept on traveling, leaving land after land behind, leaving me behind. Though I will always be where they are, because I am the landscape, and the landscape is always present, even though there is no events to count.